Let's talk about making Mesos after the Chaos Rising update, because quite a few things have changed. Whenever it comes to big updates in a game like Maplestory 2, they're always going to have a really big impact on the economy of the game. And yesterday was a pretty big day for me, because not only was it the release of the Chaos Rising update and Chaos Raids, but I spent a pretty big part of the day making Mesos, and I actually made over 50 million Mesos in a single day without selling a single item. I didn't just sell like a BOE epic and that's how I made all my Mesos. It was actually a whole bunch of different items that I sold. And I want to talk about that a little bit today and all the different ways of making Mesos, kind of how they've changed a bit over the update. So there's plenty of old ways to make Mesos that used to be really good that don't really work very well anymore. A good example of that is if you go to life skills, the main way how I ended up making 100 million Mesos was from handicrafts, things like crafting these savagery items. This is how I ended up making a whole bunch of Mesos, because before the update, there was a really high demand for these blue items and they were selling for a lot. But right now, they're not really selling for that much because there's not really that much of a demand for these items. So this used to be a really good way to make money, but not so much anymore. But with the update, there's plenty of new ways to make Mesos that didn't really work very well before, but now all of a sudden they're very, very profitable. And that's something that I do want to talk about today. So with the Chaos Rising update, of course, we have Chaos Raids. And with Chaos Raids, we actually have new challenging content that we haven't had available in the game for a very long time. This means a whole lot of things. Before the update, all we had were hard mode dungeons, and the more experienced players have been running hard mode dungeons repeatedly without really feeling like they need to give themselves any kind of a DPS boost from consumable items or give themselves any extra stats from consumable items. People were already farming that stuff for a very long time, so certain items that gave you increases in stats weren't really selling for that much on the black market because people didn't really need that stuff. But now with Chaos Raids, we have new challenging content. Most people haven't even beaten any of the Chaos Raids yet, so it's still very challenging, and people really are willing to spend whatever it takes to give themselves a little bit of an extra DPS boost to try to beat these new Chaos Raids. Now, I want to show this item just as an example. Don't look at this one item in particular. This is just an example of how much people are willing to spend on a single item to give themselves a tiny bit of a DPS boost. So if we take a look at these warrior tonics, look at this. 470,000 Mesos each. This is just an example. All I'm trying to show is people are willing to spend a ton of Mesos for a single item to give themselves a 3% DPS boost for 10 minutes. Now, I had 20 of these yesterday. I don't remember exactly how I got them. I think I got them from prestige boxes or from some sort of event. And I ended up selling them all across the entire day for 599,000 Mesos each. So I made over 10 million Mesos just from these warrior tonics. Now, it's not just warrior tonics that I'm talking about. It's all the different buff items. So if we take a look at mage tonics, they're not selling for as much, unfortunately, but they are still 40,000 Mesos each. You can end up crafting these in life skills, and I'll talk about that in a second. Not just mage tonics as well. We have whetstones. These are 60,000 Mesos each. These are one of the first items that you can end up crafting in life skills. Very easy to craft these. You don't even have to level up your life skills that much. You've got lavender candles, same thing as whetstones, except these are the magical attack version of whetstones. Very easy to craft these. They're 25 to 30,000 Mesos each. Before the update, these items were maybe 1/10 of the price that they were at before. Seeing these warrior tonics for almost 500,000 Mesos is absolutely unheard of. You would see them up on the black market for 10,000 Mesos or less. But now people are willing to spend whatever it takes to give themselves a little bit of a DPS boost when it comes to Chaos Raids. So all tonics, the cheapest tonics are 20,000 Mesos each, and those are going to be the defensive and the health tonics. Before the update, I was buying health tonics for 1,000 to 1,500 Mesos each, and I was using them in hard mode dungeons just because they were so cheap. Generally speaking, I found that people are willing to spend a lot more money on the physical and magical defense boosts than they are willing to spend on defensive and health boosts, because when it comes to Chaos Raids, the difference between having 4,000 health and 4,500 health, or 4,500 and 5,000 health, really doesn't mean that much, because the boss mechanics are probably going to one-shot you anyway. But getting that extra DPS boost might mean the difference between your group having enough damage to kill the boss or not. So you'll find, generally speaking, the physical and magical boost items are selling for quite a bit more than the health items. But it's not just tonics as well. It's any of these items, and you can find them in the curios section in the black market and kind of just go through and browse. The very cheapest one is 5,000 Mesos right now, and that's just a 3% health item. So you can kind of go through and take a look. All the different food items, everything is selling for a lot right now because of chaos raids. Now, how do you get these items? Well, there's plenty of different ways, but a lot of these items you can actually end up crafting in life skills. So let's revisit life skills again, but this time we're not going to really be looking at handicrafts that much. We're going to be taking a look at pretty much everything else. So yeah, there is still some stuff that you can end up crafting in handicrafts that will sell, but we really want to be looking at smithing, alchemy, and a little bit of cooking. So when it comes to life skills, they've kind of been on a wave. There's periods of time where you make a lot of money from life skills. Then there's periods of time where they aren't really that profitable. But now, again, they are extremely, extremely profitable. And it's not one item in particular. It's just any of these items that give you a DPS boost in any way. So you've got the whetstones and smithing. And then you've got another whetstone as you get to higher level smithing. And alchemy, you've got a whole bunch. You've got the candles, which are the whetstone equivalent for magic attack. You've got all those different special tonics, which sell for a fortune, but you do need to get to a really, really high alchemy level in order to make these. In cooking, you've got a whole bunch of different items. Again, some of the cooking items sell for a lot, some of them don't sell for much, but pretty much all consumable items for raids are selling for a lot right now. Now, there's a few tips I wanted to give you guys so that you can make even more money doing this than you can, because the main limiting factor when it comes to life skills is going to be gathering, because you can only actually gather a certain amount on a character each day. Of course, if you want to, you can end up doing life skills on alt characters, but let's not get into too much that. There's some other ways that you can actually make more Mesos and craft more items without making alt characters. Now, don't worry too much about the daily crafting limit as well. This daily crafting limit is a bit deceiving. I thought this was the total number of items that you could end up crafting, but it turns out that that's not the case. It's just for a particular item. I've had days where I've crafted well over 5,000 to 6,000 items in total, and I've never hit any kind of a daily crafting limit. So wouldn't really worry too much about that. Your main limiting factor is going to be what you can gather from your gathering life skills. But that's pretty big because certain items need certain materials, and you want to get as many of those as you possibly can. So in your crafting life skills, there are items that you can craft which will double your gains from a particular gathering profession. Now, it's a little bit weird the way that Nexon did this is, for example, the item in smithing is going to be the mail gloves. And the item in smithing is not going to increase your mining gains, but rather it's going to increase your ranching gains. So it does a little flip-flop. So the smithing item is going to give you ranching gains, and then the handicrafts item is going to end up giving you mining gains. Then if you go to alchemy, the alchemy item is going to give you farming gains, and the cooking item is going to give you foraging gains. So you have to do a little, you just double check before you end up crafting them because it's not as simple as you might think it is. A couple of other little tips as well is I would try to avoid using the item that ends up only lasting for 8 seconds because it's just not really worth it. And also, I would also try not to craft these items that are going to double the amount of resources that you gather. I would try not to craft the ones that use materials that are shared with items that are selling for a lot on the black market right now. So just for example, let's look at tin whetstones, which are going to use tin ingots and mined opals. So in order to get more tin ingots and more mined opals, you're going to need an item that doubles the amount of mining materials that you get. So with that, you're going to end up crafting these with handicrafts. So when it comes to handicrafts, the pouches that you get from handicrafts, these woolen pouches, these will increase your mining gain for a certain period of time. You can end up crafting these however you want. Just I wouldn't make the 8-second ones. I think they go all the way up to, I want to say 200 seconds. But I would make sure that the ones that you do craft, you don't end up using the same materials that are shared with something that is going to sell for a lot of Mesos in the handicraft section. So obviously, you have to do a little bit of research and look into this yourself a little bit. As time goes on and prices change, this is going to be a little bit different at different times if you watch the video at a time other than when it's posted, but that's another little piece of advice that I would give you. Also, these things have a 5-minute cooldown, the items that you end up crafting, like these gloves. So when you end up using the ones for ranching, or if you end up using the ones for mining, I would end up moving on to another profession before rotating back to the original one. But besides that, try to gather as many of the materials that are going to be useful for the items that are selling for a lot of Mesos right now. And even crafting and using life skills on a single character can be extremely, extremely profitable right now with consumable items selling for as much as they are. So as you can see, I do have my life skills maxed out, and I'll still be doing quite a bit of crafting today, hopefully making some more Mesos because it's definitely a hot time to make Mesos with the update just being out. Anyway, I wanted to share a little bit of information with you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this and you learned a little bit. If you like this video, leave a like. If you guys want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing, and that's pretty much going to be it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you are interested, of course, as I briefly mentioned at the end, there is a giveaway for the entire month of November. Link is in the description. Plenty of ways to enter. It's going to be for a $50 Nexon NX or a $50 Steam gift card, but the two easiest ways to enter are to be a subscriber to the channel for 2 tickets and leave a like on the video for a bonus ticket. That's going to be it. If you guys missed out some videos on the channel, they should be popping up on the screen if you want to check them out. But if not, until next time, thank you guys for watching. And this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.